what's up? Hey, what's up, guys? Raymaster Flex here. Today is May 27th. First of all, I want to inform you guys that because, of course, this video will not be going on YouTube anytime soon, about a month or two from now, as I've been building a series of videos that I've yet to actually post, and this is one of those videos. So I want to let you guys know that right now, currently, is May 27th, but that will not be the date. This will not be the exact same date when it's actually published on publicly. It won't be May 27th when it's actually out there, but right now, currently, the date I'm doing this video, it is May 27th, so I want to inform that just in case anything changes between now and when I make this video public. So, one of the interesting topics that has come to mind, I couldn't help but make another video about the WWE. Last video I made, I talked about Braun Strowman, how I thought about his injury, and that was on the Raw side of things, my thoughts towards Braun Strowman's injury and how, I thought that by him being injured, it took him away from so much that he could have actually had, so much build that he was getting, so much of a mega push that he was getting. Well, now I'm going to turn my attention to the SmackDown side of things. Now, hopefully when this video is up, nothing changes, but actually, scratch that. I'm just going to put my attention to all WWE wrestlers. One thing that I've tended to realize, or one thing that I want to address, is the reason why WWE wrestlers shouldn't be rushed to be a main eventer. One of the things I've noticed is I always see a lot of comments. A lot of people always say, push this guy or push that guy, or, push this guy or something like that. I always see these comments constantly when I'm watching wrestling videos and I look under the comment section. I always see these constant comments all the time. Well, sometimes you gotta ask yourself, what happens when they actually push that wrestler? Now, there's a huge difference between being an upper mid-carder and being a main eventer. It's easier to be pushed as an upper mid-carder than it is to be a main eventer. See, in some cases, WWE superstars, they might have the in-ring ability to be a main eventer, but they don't have the mic skills. Or they might have the mic skills to be a main eventer, but they don't have the ring ability. And we've seen a lot of occasions where, Vince McMahon would basically push guys into the main event scene who didn't necessarily deserve to be pushed directly into it. And no, I'm not specifically referring to Roman Reigns, because a lot of people who hate on Roman Reigns are going to obviously put him as one of the biggest guys they see that, got pushed and didn't deserve it. But there's a lot more wrestlers out there than just one person saying Roman Reigns that, and these are, just my personal opinions, I have to agree with this, but there's a lot of wrestlers out there who got pushed into the main event scene so early, and they didn't really deserve to be there at that point in their careers. And you see, the thing about being a main eventer is that you have to be able to connect with the crowd like no other person can. You have to be able to basically put on a show each and every night. You have to really represent yourself in order to be a main eventer. It's not just something that you do, you automatically get in the main event scene and, you continue to be the way that you were as a mid-carder. Like, you actually have to step up your game. And a lot of times, the thing that I tend to notice is that, a lot of wrestlers, they get pushed so fast, and that's why their characters die down. That's why they eventually go back to being a mid-carder again because it didn't work out the way that they thought it would work out. The creative team at Vince thought it would work out, so they ended up being a mid-carder again. And, you know, one perfect example of this is the fact that you got guys like I'm gonna take Dean Ambrose for example. Now, me personally, I have a problem with Dean Ambrose, but Dean Ambrose, when he cashed in his Money in the Bank and when he won the WWE Championship last year from Seth Rollins, you notice his reign didn't last too long. And one thing that the creative team has really been doing with his character ever since the Shield broke up is they haven't really built his character in a manner that has actually made him seem like he's main event material. And so that's why before we knew it, he dropped the belt to AJ Styles. Because it was just something like when he became champion at the beginning, it seemed like it was well deserved. It seemed like, you know, it was actually something. People was actually getting into it, and then all of a sudden, as they kept going, all of a sudden his reign was just getting more and more of a situation where it just wasn't feeling like he was actually a main eventer. Still made him feel like he was a mid-carder just because of the way they were booking him. And before you knew it, he dropped the belt. One current example of this is quite an actual funny one, because like I said, this video, when it gets up, he might not be champion anymore, but this mega push that they just randomly gave Jinder Mahal. Now, personally, I don't have an issue with Jinder Mahal, but the fact that he was a jobber and just randomly became a WWE champion, defeating Randy Orton at Backlash, that just goes to show you the direction that WWE is going. That just goes to show you the direction the creative team, that Vince McMahon is going. That's something that you don't do. First of all, he hadn't even won any mid-card championship to just randomly go from a jobber to being a main eventer. And that's why when I always see these things of push this guy, push Cesaro, push Sami Zayn, it's always the same names I hear over and over again. And it's like, maybe the reason of why some of these guys aren't getting pushed as quick as people want them to is because they might not be ready. And see, like I said before, Jinder Mahal, I'm interested to see how he's going to flow with being in the main event scene right now. But by the time this video goes up, he might not even be in the main event scene, so I don't know. But if he could actually be successful and flow with it, all power to him. But I just have the feeling that they kind of just rushed it so fast that he might not be able to capitalize as much as he could. But because he has kind of like a whole basically a group with him now, two dudes, I can't really remember their names, then maybe that might help him as being a heel, because right now, the fact that he's a heel and the fact that he's getting a lot of heat is one of the reasons why it was a pretty shocking. I will say that Jinder Mahal's win was one of the most shocking moments in 2017. If you want to talk about shocking moments, that will forever be probably the shockingest moment of this year, just because of the fact that no one expected for him to actually pin Randy Orton in the manner that he did. No one expected that. They all thought Randy Orton was going to come up on top. But I just kind of, for some reason, had a feeling, just because of how they were pushing Jinder Mahal over the past couple weeks, I'm like, they can't push him this far and have him go to Backlash and immediately lose to Orton. I just couldn't see that happening, because the way that they were pushing him, it was like he's basically winning every match throughout the week of SmackDown. So I kind of figured that they were probably going to throw some kind of curveball at Backlash and have him win. But, you know, guys like Cesaro, guys like Sami Zayn, I'm not saying they don't deserve it. They've been there long enough. But the problem is that, you know, when you push people too fast, when you push wrestlers too fast to the main event scene, that's what could actually become an issue, because they might not be ready, and it could be a major effect with their characters once, you know, to the point where they just have to go back to being a mid-carder. And that's one of the reasons why I don't think the reasons why, you know, wrestlers shouldn't be pushed immediately into the main event scene, because it's like when you push them too fast, that's when it could be a problem. And you got these guys that always talk about push this guy, push that guy. But it's like, what if they do get pushed? Then what happens? Because it's not just about being a main eventer, but it's about actually being able to represent yourself and going night after night. Because one difference between being a main eventer and a mid-carder is that when you're a main eventer, you have to basically, in most cases, you got to be on your game 24/7. Your title can be defended at house shows, not even just pay-per-views, but house shows, Monday Night Raw. Like, you're traveling the most out of almost everybody else. You got the most travel. Wrestlers in general travel a lot, but as a main eventer, you're traveling the most. You're barely at home or anything like that. You got to represent yourself everywhere you go. There's just a lot with that and being a main eventer. And every wrestler don't have that main event mentality to just immediately get pushed that fast enough to be a main eventer. Even if it seems as though their character is well deserved to get it, sometimes you just have to be patient. I know some stuff come with frustration, because we see so many wrestlers with so much good in-ring ability that didn't get pushed to the main event scene, that still haven't got a title at all. Like, we have not seen Sami Zayn win anything. And it took a long time just for Cesaro to win a second title after he won the United States title. It took him a long time just to win another title, which was the tag team title with Tyson Kidd, 2015. And, you know, it's like, you look at guys like that, and it can be frustrating to see how these guys, they're just there, but they're not getting mega pushes, but they're still at a mid-card level. But like I said, sometimes you just have to be patient. Sometimes you just have to be patient. And sometimes you just have to work your way up. Now, we know Vince, one of the reasons why Cesaro is still down, because he, quite frankly, doesn't see him as being a main eventer, which the fans, we see differently, but Vince is the guy that makes the calls, he makes the decisions. But, you know, sometimes you got to look at it as always picture in your mind, in the back of your mind, what it would look like if that person actually did main event. Because like I said, some wrestlers, they have the in-ring ability. They have the in-ring ability to be a main eventer, but their mic skills might be terrible. Or they might have good mic skills, but their in-ring ability is terrible. And, you know, that's one of the things, or their characters in general could just be booked so bad that it just makes them look bad as a main eventer. And so that's why they shouldn't be rushed immediately to the main event scene. It should be a patient thing. Take their time, build up the character, put them in a lot of deep, good storylines, so that way they can build and build and build. And then, as they continue to build, then they can eventually possibly be into the spot of being a main eventer. It's the easy thing? No. It's not easy. But if they work hard at it and you know, they're putting enough good storylines or whatever, then it could be something that worth looking at. But I don't think wrestlers should immediately be pushed there. They should at least get a big push as an upper mid-carder first, as a mid-carder, before immediately getting thrown into the main event scene. Because once you're thrown into the main event scene, really once you even become a main eventer, in most cases, when a wrestler becomes a main eventer, they're the guys that are supposed to lead the company. They're supposed to be the face of the company for like the rest of the time. Like, once you become a main eventer, you're supposed to actually stay in the main event scene for the most part. Once you become one, it's kind of hard to just jump from a main eventer and immediately go back to a mid-carder. Once you're a main eventer, you're technically, that's the point of where you're supposed to actually remain in the main event scene, because it's like you made it this far, and it's not. And once you win the title, it's like that shows all the stuff you went through to become the WWE, or in this case, Universal Champion. And it's like once you win that title, it's a whole different ball game. It's a whole different atmosphere. So it's like now it's time for you to shine. Now this is the time. Now that you've come this far and you've won all these mid-card championships, now that you've been Intercontinental, United States, and Tag Team Champion, now that you've won those titles, now that you're actually in the main event scene, now that you're actually a main eventer, this is the time for you to shine. This is the time for you to actually step up and show everybody why you earned, because you know a lot of people say you deserved, but why you earned the spot at being a main eventer. That's what it means to be a main eventer. I think a lot of times wrestlers, like I just mentioned, Jinder Mahal, I don't think he should have been immediately pushed in there, but I kind of seen it coming. But I don't think he should have immediately been pushed in the main event scene. But that's why a lot of wrestlers, when they become main eventers, that's why some of them are unsuccessful, because they're rushed. They're rushed way too fast. And you should never rush a wrestler, no matter how good the fans, no matter how good people like them. They should never be rushed. The best thing you could do is keep them as a mid-carder as much as possible and have them wait. And if you see some progress or something, if they really, really have showed that they earned it, then you slowly work your way into having them be a main eventer. And, you know, from there, then it'll mean something. You know, a lot of people, you know, there's a lot of wrestlers out there who they have the potential, but it was always the matter of if they got it, what the case of the matter would be. And, you know, that's just how it is. I can name a few guys who, you know, they just were pushed, but they were pushed too early, and you know that's why their reigns weren't very successful. And even some cases, some wrestlers can't even handle the pressure of being a main eventer. It's not even just the fact of them not being ready, but some of them they're not even ready to handle the pressure of it, because like I said, there's a lot of pressure, because the everything that you do, everybody's watching, and really the pressure, the steam is all on you. And so when you're a main eventer, like I said, the travel is even more hard. You have even more travel than everybody else. You got to travel a lot when you're a WWE champion or Universal champion. You have to travel a lot more than most other guys. You got to have the most travel. You got to be out there taking pictures, getting photos, all this kind of stuff you got to do. And some people, they're not ready to handle that, because it's like if you've been used to having a little time off to be with your families and see your children and stuff like that, and see your wife or you know, see your wife, something like that, then when you become a WWE or Universal Champion in this matter, that stuff is more so hard to do. And if you're not used Because at that point, you would barely get to see them. You would barely get to see them at all. You really wouldn't even see them that much because you have even more traveling that you have to do. And the thing about being a main eventer is also they don't give you a lot of time off. They will not give you time off. You have to actually be able to wrestle almost you have to be able to wrestle almost the whole year. You can't really get time off because once you're in the main event scene, once you're actually main eventing your main event, you've won the big one. It's like the time off that if you want to get time off, you can't. It's very hard for you to get time off compared to when you're a mid-carder, the main eventer. It's very hard to get time off. Unless you're somebody like Randy Orton or Cena, John Cena, those type of guys been in a company long enough to where Vince just is going to give them time off if they request it because they've done so much at this point that, they're just going to get that. Then if you're a guy starting from the bottom up, you're not going to get time off once you're at that stage. You got to be awakening. You got to be aware at all times. And so that's one of the things about being a main eventer of why I say WWE wrestlers shouldn't be rushed because it's not an easy thing. It's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do. You got to actually build your character. You got to build them. And there are already wrestlers now that I can see WWE is trying to push into the main event scene. Like I said, Jinder Mahal's one of them that they quickly push. But there's other wrestlers I see they're already trying to push. It's like, don't rush it. Don't rush it. Sensei Nakamura is a pretty good wrestler to me. But do I think he should immediately go out and win the Money in the Bank? Because they got this Money in the Bank pay-per-view coming up in the next couple of weeks. Like I said, by the time this video come out, that already happened. But do I think he should immediately win the Money in the Bank and he just got here? No. I don't think he should immediately win the Money in the Bank because it's like that's where the rushing come in. You're going to immediately have him win the Money in the Bank, become a WWE champion, and then what happens? I mean, those are the things you got to look at. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with building a new superstar, building a new talent, because, at this stage, the Cenas, the Ortons, those are old news. That was for the old generation. There's a new generation. There's a new era. So there is time. It is time to build new superstars. But even with building new superstars, it's not always an easy thing to just put someone else as the face of the company. They got to actually work their way up to even get that deserved spot to being the face of the company. It's not just something that you just do one day and that person's supposed to lead the company over for the rest of the years. It's like actual hard work. And every wrestler just doesn't seem to have that. One guy, I will say, who came here, got put to the main event scene, but actually proved that he deserved it, well, that he earned that spot, is AJ Styles. Now, like I said before, every wrestler, not the same game, but it takes time. And that's just my reasons. Hope you guys agree with it. Well, I would love to see what you guys thoughts of this is, depending on how much it gets watched when it gets out there. But yeah, I named quite a few. It's a lot more wrestlers, but I can't really think of them now. But named quite a few reasons why WWE wrestlers shouldn't be rushed into the main event scene to be a main eventer. Put it that way. So. I hope you guys enjoy this video when it goes out there. I just really wanted to make this just to think about all these superstars that they're trying to just push to the biggest, the highest level and make them a mega superstar so fast. But everybody is not there. They're not ready to take that task. That's taking a whole new step to be a main eventer compared to being a mid-carder. I'd rather be a mid-carder as long as possible than being a main eventer. I'd rather actually be a mid-carder for a long time before I even get that spot of being a main eventer. Because once you become a main eventer, you're supposed to stay a main eventer. You're not supposed to drop down back to a mid-card. We've seen it happen because of failure attempts of superstars who they rushed too fast to be main eventers, that because they seen that it wasn't working, they just had them drop the belt real quickly. Even now, Bray Wyatt, it was surprising to him. They had him win the WWE Championship at the Elimination Chamber this year, but then what happened? He dropped the belt to Randy Orton at WrestleMania, which was kind of like, what was the point of even giving him the title? But that's just one perfect example. He got pushed to the main event. He gets the main event, automatically gets a main event scene by winning WWE Championship at Elimination Chamber. Then at WrestleMania, he loses the title to Orton. So it's like, what was the purpose of that? But it's just a clear example of what can happen in some cases where wrestlers, they give them a main event spot, but then they see something just isn't right or something, or the booking might just be off, because even nowadays, just a lot of bad booking, and it'll just cause them to go right back to being a mid-card where they were from the get-go. And so that's just where it is. And when I say wrestlers should be pushed, when I do videos like that, I don't particularly mean to be pushed as main eventers, but just to be pushed as upper mid-cards before they even get to the spot of being a main eventer. Because like I said, and another thing that vets always had looked at for a long time was the wrestlers with the physiques and things like that, the ones with the big muscles and small like that. Smaller guys can be main eventers too. If they work hard enough, they can be main eventers too. It's not so much looked that way anymore as he looked in the 90s, because we had people like Rey Mysterio that was a main eventer, even though the booking with him was so bad. That's why he himself couldn't even be a main eventer for that long, because when they had him booking, it was like he always had to face guys that was like way bigger than him and stuff like that throughout the whole time he was champion back in 2006. And before he knew it, he dropped the belt to Booker T, well, King Booker at the time. Those are just some examples of guys who just, even though it seemed like they needed it, and we've seen a lot of guys win it, and some of them you're like, wow, they don't deserve it, but they didn't earn this, but that's just how WWE is. That's just how the booking can be. But that's why you don't rush people, because things like that happen. And that's just really what this video is focusing on, just not rushing wrestlers to be a main event, because it's not something that should be rushed. It's something that should be timed. Timing is everything. After the time, and when it seems like they progressed, then and only then can truly say that they have gotten to the top. But before then, don't rush. Keep them as much of a mid-carder as you possibly can. Then take them to the main event spot. Because to immediately throw them out just because of their ring skills or their promo ability is not the right way to go. It's not, but that's one of the things that tends to happen a lot nowadays, where we do need new faces, because people like Cena, Orton, people like Triple H and all of them, their time has passed by. There's a new generation, there's a new era, and that's what I have to say about that. So, I'm gonna wrap it up here. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like I said before I just started talking to you, whenever you see it, this video, today's May 27th, this video won't be up soon. you guys will know